Hey everyone, so today I wanted to share with you guys this stitched on face, which is perfect for Halloween. So to get started, trace your face with a nude liner. And this is just gonna get the general outline before we move on to putting actual product on top of it. Next, I'm taking Skin Tite, and this is basically like a two-part silicone product that's used to create wounds and things like that. So I'm just mixing that together with a bit of a darker foundation, and this is gonna become the outline of the stitched on face. So to start, I'm just gonna dollop the product onto the outline that we already created with my spatula, and this product will set. So I am gonna work with it pretty quickly. I mean, obviously this is sped up, but you do wanna work with it pretty fast. So basically you're just kinda like buttering your face. Then once I feel the product starting to set, I'm gonna make sure that all of the edges are blended seamlessly into my skin. So I want the blending edge on the inner side of the product to be really smooth and just fade into my skin, whereas the outer edge can be a bit more blunt and a bit more harsh, as that's gonna be the part of the skin that was teared off or cut off or whatever you wanna imagine. And then next, I'm just kind of dragging my palette knife through the product now that it's basically all set. And this will just disrupt the product and make the texture a bit more rough and a bit more disheveled. Then I've got this latex piece here. So I basically just blob some liquid latex onto my palette and then I let it air dry. So this is gonna be used for the flap of skin. So I'm just gonna peel it off and line it up onto my face. And since the Skin Tite set's really tacky and really sticky, the latex piece basically just adheres right on there. So I ended up really liking how the piece was sitting once it was applied, so I decided to make some more pieces out of the liquid latex. So I'm just creating slightly irregular shapes onto my palette, and then I'm just blow drying them to speed up the drying time. Then I'm just gonna peel them off and plop them on the other parts of my skin. Then I'm mixing up a new batch of the Skin Tite, and I'm gonna add a slightly lighter foundation to it. And I'm gonna create the tear from where the face was torn off. So basically I was inspired by when people say to other people like, oh, I love your face, I just wish I had your face. And in this case, I took it a little literally. Then once the Skin Tite is set and I'm happy with it, I'm gonna take some loose translucent powder and just set everything in place with a powder puff. So since the Skin Tite sets sticky, like I said, I'm gonna put a lot of powder on, and then I'm just gonna dust away any excess with a fan brush. Next up, it's time for the base. So I'm gonna go in with a layer of a full coverage foundation that's about a shade darker than my skin tone. I want the face to be really full coverage and very glam. So I'm gonna use a flat foundation brush just to really build up that coverage. And I'm going in with a finer detail brush around the latex pieces and all the skin flaps just to ensure that I cover everything. Then I'm going in with a lighter foundation for my neck and my ears. I really wanted to make sure that the skin tones were slightly different to make sure that there was more of a contrast and that it popped more. Then I'm going in with an eye base just to really start off with a blank canvas. And then after that, I'm gonna set everything in place. So bake your face, powder your face, do whatever you gotta do to make sure it's all locked in place and nothing's gonna move. So next up is the face makeup. Now I'm not gonna go into every single details of the glam because you guys can basically do whatever makeup look you want. I do have a regular makeup tutorial on my channel that's very similar to what I did here. So if you wanna watch that, I will link that down below. But basically, I wanted to use all matte products. That way I could really emphasize my features without the face makeup being too eye-catching and too glittery and glamorous. I didn't want it to take away from the rest of our work. Okay, back to the tutorial. Now that the face is done, it's time to start coloring in those wounds. So I'm gonna take this alcohol activated palette and I'm gonna go in with the blood kind of red colors and use that as a wash of color over all of the wounded areas. And I'm just going in with some darker purple colors just to create more dimension and depth. Basically, wherever the flaps of skin are is where I chose to put the darkest colors, but this is where you can get a little creative and have fun with it. Next, I'm just going in with these Ben Nye cream color wheels, and I'm taking the red to create some irritation on the outer edges. So I'm just stippling the product on with a regular makeup sponge, and then I'm just kind of adding some brighter creams and adding those into the wounds. Next, I'm taking some purple and red rubber mask grease paints just to build on what I already have. You definitely don't need these extra creams, but I find these grease paints have a lot more slip to them and they look a lot more wet on the skin than the Ben Nye creams do, so I wanted to add them in just for some more variation. So I'm using a coarse stipple sponge to apply that, and I'm also just taking a detail brush to really push the product into the flaps of the skin. Then I'm taking some scab blood, which is really thick, and I'm gonna build that up into the deepest areas of the wound. And I decided that I wanted to make the whole neck look a bit more sore and irritated as well. So I'm gonna bring some of that color onto my stipple sponge and just drag that product over my skin. And don't forget about your ears, especially if you're leaving your hair up. So just, cover all of that. Then for the wet blood, I'm gonna take this Fleet Street dark drying blood and I'm gonna add that all over the wound. What's really great about this blood is that it starts as a liquid, but then it does set and kind of dry. That way it's not gonna smudge and smear throughout the night. Then last, I'm gonna go in with some stitches. Now you can use whatever you'd like for this step. You could do tape, staples, stitches, it doesn't really matter. It all gives a very similar effect. But for this look, I decided to go with stitches. So I created little knots on thread and then I cut them into small pieces. And I do actually have a whole video dedicated to fake stitches on my channel. So I will link that down below in case you want a more in-depth video on just the stitches. But basically, I'm just placing the knot of the thread into pros-aide, which is like an adhesive, and then I'm applying that right onto the face. It's pretty simple, but it's pretty effective. Okay, so now if you want to take the look one step further and make the wounds look a bit more infected and sore, you can take some Vaseline and mix in some yellow cream, and it'll kind of turn into this gross pus kind of color. So if you'd like, add some of the yellow pus wherever you'd like. So to finish it all off, I'm just gonna spray some Fix Plus, but water or any finishing spray will do. I just really wanna make sure that the bloody areas stay looking really wet and really shiny and raw. So that is how it's looking. Now I'm gonna take my hair down to get a better look at the final makeup and adjust where I need be. So now that my hair is down, I can see that I need a bit more red on my hairline and along my chin, things like that. Now I'm adding just a bit of water into my hair to tie the whole look together. And there you go. There is the final stitched on face look. I hope you guys enjoyed watching. Thanks so much, and I will see you guys soon. Bye!